We are continuing our coverage of the proposed town hall and administrative center in Tiny Township. Cracks started appearing in Tiny Council after increasing public pressure for the $25 million project. Tiny, which had only an $8.5 million operating budget in 2024, plans to finance $22 million through debt over 30 years for the center. Residents once more turn up to oppose the administrative center. Grandmother Noel McCartney raised concerns about the impact of cost and debt on future generations. She came with her granddaughter Miranda to give the deputation.
First of all, I want her to see the democratic process in action. And secondly, the decisions that this council makes are going to affect her as in terms of long-term decision-making. And one issue, of course, is the building of the new admin center. I understand that there is going to be a motion brought forward to hold a referendum to ensure that you are fairly representing, as our elected representatives, the voices of the majority of people in Tiny. Driving over here to the meeting tonight, I saw many signs saying, stop the admin build. I didn't see one that said start it. And I'm concerned, after I heard, Mayor Evans, your interview a week ago on CTV, Barry, where you said that you were confident that you were representing the silent majority of voters in Tiny. Well, let them be silent no more. Hold a referendum.
Great, thank you, ma'am. Thanks for coming in.
Significant tensions emerged after Councilor Dave Brunelle opposed the project, citing community dissent, financial skepticism, ecological concerns, and a lack of public engagement. He called for a referendum to let residents decide.
Most of us have seen the sea of stop the building signs standing on private lawns. This is sending a clear message. Our community is speaking up. These signs aren't just an expression of dissent. They are a call to action, urging us, the elected representatives of Tiny, to listen and respond to the concerns of our residents. The proposed Tiny Township Administration Center has stirred strong emotions and raised significant questions. The projected costs of this building have been met with skepticism, and for good reason. Beyond the financial concerns, the TTHC has been built as a green initiative, potentially achieving a carbon net zero status once completed and occupied. But we must ask ourselves, how green is it really? The ecological impact of the construction itself, considering the emissions from concrete and steel production, is substantial, as would be the impact to ecology of the zone designated for construction. Are we truly pursuing an environmentally responsible path? Or is there another agenda cloaked in green rhetoric? Perhaps the
Point of
most...
privilege. Point is, sir, Council?
Your Worship, I'm going to ask the councillor to clarify what he means by cloaked, suggesting that there's an undertone of what, sir?
Councilor Brunelle, are you able to respond to that?
Can I respond after I finish my statement?
Certainly.
However, Mayor David Evans and other council members continue to support the project. Councilor Steffen Walma defended the council's intention to build an efficient and environmental-friendly building. Councilor Brunelle's motion to pause the project and hold a referendum was not seconded and thus denied. The meeting underscored a clear divisions within the council and highlighted the contentious nature of the project among both council members and the community. Following is the video of the meeting.
Kick off the regular meeting for Wednesday, August the 7th, regular council meeting. We will now move from our closed session into our open session. So, moved by Councilor Walma, seconded by Councilor Brunelle. That we do now rise and report at 5:45 p.m. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion's carried. And now a motion to deal with our closed session, moved by Councilor Brunelle. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Miskimins. The motion is, whereas council in closed session received legal advice from Barriston Law regarding a zoning compliance matter, now therefore be it resolved that Sarah Hahn of Barriston Law and the Chief Municipal Law Enforcement Officer proceed as directed. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion is carried. And a second motion coming out of our closed session, moved by Councilor Walma, seconded by Councilor Holoka. And the motion is, whereas council in closed session received legal advice from Barriston Law regarding the Penetanguishene Library Board, now therefore it be resolved that Sarah Hahn of Barriston Law in conjunction with staff proceed as directed. All those in favor, council? Thank you. Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to offer join us in a moment of silent reflection. Stand if you're able, otherwise no worries, just stay in your seat. Thank you for your consideration. Please be seated. At this time, I'd like to pass over to Deputy Mayor Miskimins for our land acknowledgement statement.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. The heart of Georgian Bay has been an important homeland to and gathering place for Indigenous people for thousands of years. We acknowledge that this place on earth has been here since before our creation, and that all living things on earth, in the water, and in the air are our relatives and our equals. With its landscape as a teacher and water for its life, we learn, share, and live on these traditional lands. We acknowledge that we share the responsibility to protect and preserve our first mother, the earth, and ensure that she is here for future generations. This is the traditional and treaty territory of the Anishinaabe people, now known as the Chippewa Tri-Council, comprised of Beausoleil First Nation, Rama First Nation, and the Georgina Island First Nation. This territory is within the Pre-Confederation Treaty 5 and Treaty 16 and included within the Williams Treaties of 1923. The heart of Georgian Bay was once the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and is now home of many Indigenous people, including the Anishinaabe and many citizens of the Métis Nation of Ontario. We respectfully acknowledge that we are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters, and that we continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Moving on to announcements and presentations. I'll kick it off with our movies in the park. The next movie taking place will be Friday, August 16th at the Wyville Soccer Fields. The movie itself is Transylvania Transforma. We're looking for good attendance on this one. We actually, just so you know, we do provide popcorn and a number of other opportunities for the kids. So please come out again on Wyville Soccer Field. So we're looking forward to seeing you out for that. Fierte Simcoe Pride is taking place July 29th to August 11th, 2024. We had a flag raising. Councilor Walma, thank you for taking my place on that. On August 1st to take care of that. Bus Till Dusk is taking place in downtown Palm Beach every Thursday. Tomorrow is reggae-themed Breeze Creeb. Freeze Creeb. Okay, Freeze Creeb. They've been very, very successful so far. No rain yet, knock on wood. So, and great turnout. So please feel free to, please come down. I will suggest you come down early. Parking is at a shortage, but there are opportunities, and look forward to seeing you there. Farm Crawl is Saturday, August 24th, 2024. You can get updates on tinyconnect.ca, and as well online you can register for that. And then we'll just go into council members' updates. I'll just kick it off. August 19th to 23rd, council and our acting CIO will be attending the Association of Municipalities of Ontario Conference in Ottawa, Ontario. So you look forward to, there's great opportunities to meet our fellow municipal government officials, as well as a lot of seminars that are worthwhile. And included with that will be, we have 2 meetings set with ministers, which is something that doesn't usually happen frankly, to a municipality of our size usually. There are 440 municipalities, so to get 2 meetings with ministers is something we're looking forward to. The first one will be with Minister Paul Calandra, and that'll be with regards to settlement boundaries in the township of Tiny. I don't know if you're aware, but the last 40, 50 years that the municipal government of Tiny has not had control over expanding its own settlement boundaries. It's a legacy thing. We're looking to have the opportunity and the ability to do that. So we've never had that control before. And the second deputation will be on the Wednesday, the 23rd, and that's with Minister Surma, Infrastructure Minister, with regards to septage. So we're looking to ramp up that issue. It's a pressing one, as we know, in the township of Tiny, not just with infrastructure, but as our community is growing and becoming more full-time, the effects and the impacts that it's having on our septage are going to be becoming a paramount importance. So looking forward to that. And then council, any other announcements, comments? Councilor Loca, please.
Yeah, I'd like to give a big shout out to my old unit who took down 2 very dangerous terrorists last week. The RCMP comes under scrutinization every now and then, but on this particular occasion, they rose well and above their call of duty. And I'd also like to let people know that starting in September, we're going to have 4 speaker series for seniors, which will include many topics. And the announcements will be coming out on Tiny Connect anytime soon, probably by the middle of next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Loca. Council, anything other? We're good? Okay, great. Thank you. And Councilor Loca did mention tinyconnect.ca. Please do register for that, where you'll get almost daily updates on what is happening in the township of Tiny. So moving on to item I, deputations to council. This is the open portion of deputations. So anybody that's in the crowd would like to make a deputation, please come forward. You have to just sign your name and the topic, and 5 minutes to discuss. So if you could just push the button on so everybody can hear you. Great. Well, good evening. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Mayor Evans, councillors, township staff. My name is Noel McCartney. I'm a longtime Tiny resident. I came tonight with my granddaughter, Miranda, for 2 reasons. First of all, I want her to see the democratic process in action. And secondly, the decisions that this council makes are going to affect her as in terms of long-term decision-making. And one issue, of course, is the building of the new admin center. I understand that there is going to be a motion brought forward to hold a referendum to ensure that you are fairly representing, as our elected representatives, the voices of the majority of people in Tiny. Driving over here to the meeting tonight, I saw many signs saying, stop the admin build. I didn't see one that said start it. And I'm concerned, after I heard, Mayor Evans, your interview a week ago on CTV, Barry, where you said that you were confident that you were representing the silent majority of voters in Tiny. Well, let them be silent no more. Hold a referendum, and that is my request to you. I hope that councillors, you will all support this motion if it is brought forward to hold a referendum to get the input so that you know you're truly on the right course and representing fairly your ratepayers. Thank you.
Great, thank you, ma'am. Thanks for coming in. Council, any questions, any comments? Okay, thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Actually, I do have copies, if I may.
We can take those after you're done if you like, sure.
Not before?
Well, we're not going to look at them right now. This is,
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Yes, so I guess I would like to speak to various issues touched on, that will be touched on, or that pertain to the discussion item that you have in the committee of the whole meeting this afternoon with regards to my deputation of June 26th.
You can't speak, sir, you can't speak about the same thing within a 6-month period, so.
Yes, what I'm not
And if you
doing-
could just say your name and just to kick it off, just for the records, just so we know.
Yes, sorry, Boris Kowalski.
Great, thanks, Boris.
Yes. So I'm not speaking so much to whether or not to hold the referendum. That was the topic of my last deputation.
Okay,
As I am to the way, how, the spirit, the frame of mind, the pride and prejudice with which you will be approaching this discussion this afternoon. I'm opening that up and making suggestions about how it might be best to deal with this matter this afternoon. So it's not a question so much of whether or not you vote for it as it is how you approach the issue. It's a methodological and psychological and moral issue that I'm talking about.
that's fine. Indulge you on that. This is a 5-minute session, though, just
Yes,
so. you know,
yes,
so-
by all means.
Yeah.
It's not.
No
going to
worries,
be-
it won't be hard 5, but
Thank you.
the one you did before was
It'll be
10.
enough, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Please
Thank you, I
proceed.
appreciate your indulgence. Your worship, Mayor Evans and members of council, let me begin by asking that you please accept this deputation as a friendly appeal to your respect for or conscience of reason, as well as to your love of democracy. We urge you to decide today in favor of holding a referendum. I mean, of course, a referendum on whether to proceed with your new administrative building project or instead to seriously consider alternative, less expensive ways of improving Tiny staff's working conditions and achieving other related goals before deciding how to proceed. Please note that were such a referendum to be held, it would be preceded by a wide-open public debate on the issue, nourished by an extensive media coverage. So if later today you agree to a referendum, you'll be signaling your respect for an informed, enlightened public opinion and your willingness to accept the popular position on this issue, whether it opposes or supports your own position. On the other hand, if you vote against the referendum, the implicit message will be that you really don't trust us to think for ourselves, even when we take the trouble to adequately inform ourselves on the relevant issues which a referendum process would naturally motivate us to do. As I say in one version of my open letter to council that I've sent out to a couple of local news outlets, and here I'm quoting, "You will therewith betray the elitist attitude of rulers who act as though they possessed a monopoly on political expertise and wisdom. I hate to say this, but would not such an attitude towards the people gravely impair an elected official's ability to represent the electorate responsibly and responsively?" Well, as the petitions, deputations, rallies, and numerous other actions in past months have shown, many Tiny residents have their own...
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but our live stream has gone down.
Oh.
So I'd like to, if we could, give us a recess of, we're 6:01 right now. And I want to be able to obviously let everybody see. So if you'll indulge us for about 15 minutes, we'll try at 6:15 to start it up again, and then we can start from the beginning. So, all right, was that okay? Well, I appreciate your patience on that. But sometimes these things do happen. So we'll take a brief 15-minute break. And leave all your stuff there, don't worry, that's fine. And we'll come back at hopefully 6:15, we'll have it ready to go. So I have a motion to recess at 6:01 PM, moved by Councilor Holoka, seconded by Councilor Brunelle. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion is carried. Okay, we'll be back and saying we're 6:02, we'll try it 6:15, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Evans and councillor members, my name is Karen Zelinik and I'm a resident of Tiny. I just wanted to make a quote, repeat a quote that Mayor Evans, you had said to City TV Barrie last Wednesday. You said, quote unquote, "That's who we're doing it for. This is for the majority of the population." And I just wanted to make a note, the administration building shouldn't be based on what you, Mayor Evans, refer to as the silent majority. It should be based on an open and transparent majority through a referendum. And I don't expect you to answer, but I do want to ask the question, how do you measure the silent majority? Is there a way to measure it?
This is not a question period, you know that.
Okay, and I wanted to bring up, because in the agenda, you got the report from the ombudsman, so I thought you guys might be a champion saying, you know, we won this battle and it's in our favor and stuff, and I just want to have my...
Can you speak to a specific subject, please? And then
the ombudsman report.
Okay.
That you got, okay? So you guys might think it's a champion of it, and I just want to say my 2 cents about that report, because it's in the agenda. Okay, in that report, it says that the township has taken steps to provide information to the public about the TTAC committee's operations, including by posting relevant information and meeting minutes on its website. Myself, I disagree with that because there's absolutely zero mention in the TTAC's minutes about any opposition to the construction, zero. And I've read every single minutes. I just wanted to point out that I wasn't surprised at their conclusion. I found that it was a total disrespect of the agency, showing to myself and the other individuals who spent their time and efforts in contacting their office on this matter. There was an actual box of documents that were sent to them. Myself, I still have not received the courtesy of a contact directly advising of their decision, and I only learned of it in the minutes of your agenda today. And I find that absolutely unacceptable, and it does a disservice to the Ombudsman's office and the function that they are mandated to serve. A number of other interested parties had numerous interactions with the staff at the Ombudsman's office with correspondence, telephone, and emails. And at the very minimum, under circumstances, I would expect to be countercopied with the letter that you guys received on July 30th. Myself, I have personally received criticism for my approach trying to reach the Ombudsman, and I was told that they have no enforcement powers, and it was a waste of time, of my time. And I just wanted to point out, like, if you guys are going to glorify that you got this report, I don't know that you are, but I'm going to be on the defense here. If you guys are going to say, like, we got this report and we're not doing anything wrong, I just think that it's a disservice to the community, and they didn't really take our complaints seriously. And that's all I wanted to say today.
Okay, thank you. Council, any comments, questions? No, none at this time. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Thank you. Any other deputations at this time? Okay, good. Well, thanks for everybody coming in. I appreciate the people in deputations. Thanks very much. Okay, moving on. We don't have any scheduled deputations today. We don't have any reports of consultants or third parties. So we'll move on to item L1, which is adopting receiving of minutes of previous meetings. So On to L1, minutes of council, advisory committees, and other meetings be adopted as distributed. Can I have a mover and a second for discussion? Thank you. Deputy Mayor Miskevens. Seconded by Councilor Arloka. Thank you. Council, any discussion and comments on these items? Councilor Brunelle?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd like to pull the June 17, 2024 Township of Tiny Administration Center Committee meeting minutes and also the June 26, 2024 regular meeting of council minutes, please.
The June 26th is a separate motion, right?
So June 26th regular meeting minutes?
It's all under
It's all under L1, yeah. Are these for comment or for a possible amendment?
Clarification on a few items.
Okay. So before we do a new motion, why don't we go through the questions if we could?
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I'd like to ask a question regarding item C6.A. about the project phase 2 procurements, and it's through you, Chair, to Director Leach. It states here that JF Robitaille provided an update on the process of phase 2 procurements, which would have multiple small tenders for the project as opposed to one large tender. My question is, so are there several vendors and there's going to be just tender for different vendors, or is it just going to be multiple small tenders for the one vendor?
Okay, thank you. Director Leach?
Yeah, through the chair. At this point of the phase 2 procurement, we're looking ahead for the procurement process. The township did take on a new procurement policy recently, which I'm sure everybody remembers being presented. And what we were just anticipating and looking forward is if we are dealing with different scenarios of multiple tenders, single tenders, we have not written the construction manager RFP yet, and so these are the types of things that we're looking at. So when we're in the situation, we want to, if we do have multiple tenders, for example, that we have a procurement policy that's in place, and that may be differ from what we currently have. It may differ from the current policy. We want to make sure that the process is identified, it's locked down, it's transparent, and it's clear. So what we're doing through this procurement part of the phase 2 is to look for the scenarios that we may be experiencing and how are we going to manage those and what works best for the township. The fear when you're in any construction project, if there's changes, if there's part of the procurement process, what you don't want to have is delays. Delays cost money in any project. So we want to try and anticipate what's the best way for us to go through, whether it be smaller tenders, one large tender, and we're just going to go through the different scenarios so that when we do finalize the RFP for the construction manager, we have a good, clear method on how we want to deal with it in any scenario which the construction manager may want to recommend to help streamline the process and ensure that we don't have delays in the project. Delays, as anybody who knows has been involved with construction, costs lots of money, and we do not want delays. So these are just open discussions on how we're going to try and deal with the different scenarios that may come up.
Thank you, Director Leach. You have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So in this particular project, the RFP, the procurement for services or goods through the vendors, there'll be opportunity for multiple vendors to bid on these tenders.
That's correct. We, through the process, the construction manager, that's one of the items that they'll be managing. With us, of course, we will be the oversight for it. We want to make sure we get best price, best quality, best delivery, and for what we're building.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
On that item.
That's good.
I have an additional item on these minutes on 7B. And this is directed to, this question will be directed to Director LeBlanc. It says on the staff report, furnishings 6.63, I believe is %, professional fees and HST will be included. The question is, the additional $100,000 $100,000 assessment of building will be included as well. Can you clarify? I'd like to get clarification on the additional $100,000 assessment of which building, the existing building, new building, and why is there an additional $100,000 assessment?
CAO?
Yes, thank you, Councilor Brunelle, for the question. I don't have that number in front of me. I'm sorry. I have to go back to that report. At the time, what I was trying to decipher to the committee was there was some changes in the Class D estimate compared to the original estimate that staff put together. So my concern was, let's look at where that change is and make it known to the public what the change is, and create the calculator so that it can help people to calculate what that impact would be. That was really the intention of that note. The 100,000, I don't recall that off my memory, and I'd have to go back to the Class D estimate to see where that was being pulled from.
Councilor?
Is there any someone else from the committee that maybe can remember what this additional $100,000 assessment of the building?
Councilor?
Through you, Your Worship, and Director Leach may be the right guy, because he would have been the one that got the appraisal. When we did the initial assessment of the building, the estimate was a $2 million resale for here. And then when we went and had a professional appraisal done on the building came back higher than our initial estimates. But Director Leach.
Yeah,
Dr. Leach?
Yeah, through the chair. That's exactly right. We, for the calculation in the report that was put together for the finance, we estimated $2 million for the value of the building. And when we had a professional assessment done, it came in at 2.1. And Director LeBlanc, that's what the comment was in this, that the additional 100,000 assessment will be included in that cost estimate as well. So that was an additional $100,000 of estimated revenue in our financial calculations.
Thanks, Director. Councilor Brunelle?
Thank you very much.
Great. Okay,
For the minutes for the this.
This is for the first, the 0617. You also had 0626. The regular? You said you had
Yes, and I'm trying to find,
some clarification on that.
yes, right here, oops. Right here. Thank you. I'd like to discuss the deputation I.4 from David Wolf, the Administrative Center. Mr. David Wolf addressed Council regarding the Black Line Consulting Report released in January 2023. The report provided recommended administrative center space required for the efficient conduct of municipal operations and promoted flexible working arrangements for staff. Mr. Wolf commented that the report notes a recommended 15,050 square feet required for municipal operations, which exists within the current administrative center building, and that a revised layout should be considered. If spaces are concerned, then flexible working arrangements should be implemented as noted in the report. So my question is to the chair of the TTAC committee, which I believe is yourself, Mayor, is why did the committee go against this recommendation and decide to double the amount of space that for the new project? This is a question for the chair of the project, of the committee.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I'm not the chair, but I'm happy to take the question, but Councilor Walma is
I'd like
the chair of the
to
committee.
ask the chair then, sorry, which is Councilor
Doesn't matter,
Walma.
So first of all, the Black Line Consulting Report, which was done in 2022, prior to us getting in council, did make a recommendation of 15,050 square feet. At that time, it's an estimate, and no different than frankly what we've come up with ourselves. We, subsequent to that, staff have come up with an estimate based on the 7 facilities, the current space that we occupy. And the number, correct me if I'm wrong, is approximately 18,000 square feet that we currently operate in operating functions for staff. So amongst the 7 facilities. So that pretty much, the number that we used in the PIC, I think I spoke to it, was the estimate for the new building would be approximately 21,000 square feet. of commensurate space. So the 15,000 was an estimate made on a high level by Blackline. Since then, we've done a more in-depth and in detailed investigation. We're still not totally 100% fine on that or dedicated to that. We continue to refine the number. I think that came up with the PIC as well. We have some extra, we had one pod area that was additional that we've set aside, given that the building will last for a minimum of 60 years to 100 years. So we're looking at basically a 10% increase over existing staff's square footage. And the black line, albeit 15,000, wasn't done to the detail that we have done subsequent to that. If that helps. Any other questions, please?
Somewhat.
Okay.
A couple of questions that
Yep.
arose. First one is, so the 18,000 square feet, is that all in this property or is this on other properties?
That's the 7 facilities combined.
On this property? No.
No, this facility has 4.
Yes.
And then there's 3 other secondary or ancillary facilities.
So what's going to happen to the, not just this facility, but the facilities on the other 3 properties? What's going to be the use for those properties, for those facilities, space?
Well, given their public works facilities, Director Leach, can you speak to the 3 other facilities?
Yeah, I can speak to the current Public Works trailer that we have here. It's an old ATCO trailer. So that houses our Public Works operations, or the mainly management. We have in the water department on the concession 8, it's the upstairs to what is a pump station. It's a major flight of stairs. It's not accessible. And it's not a great workspace. So that will also be decommissioned. Now the building itself will still be in use because it's a pump house. And it does, we use that for storage of chemicals and items like that. And it's got obviously a water reservoir there also. So that's the square footage that will be moved out of that current facility.
And what about the other 2 facilities that you mentioned 4? So one is here, the second one is water department. What about the other 2 facilities?
Fire, there'll be fire facility. Yeah, there's a fire
Fire.
facility that we currently have office space in Station 2. And that will be integrated into the new TTAC. Obviously, the Station 2 will continue to operate, and that space will be used ongoing for training and other fire-related functions. And we need expansion of that facility. And then the final one is our Parks and Rec on a seasonal basis. We tend to use a number of facilities. And those facilities will remain, like the concession 8, that facility will remain. But we hope to be able to have flex space in the new facility to house the majority of the people in our, primarily our seasonal component, where our numbers do double in terms of headcount. So, hope that helps.
Yeah, second thing, you mentioned commensurate space of 21,000 square feet. Can you explain that? Because I think most of us do not know what that means.
Certainly. So if we look right now, as we sit right now, with the 7 facilities for staff component, we have approximately 18,000 square feet. The proposal for the same staff portion of that building, not the public portion, not the council chambers, the same apples to apples, if you want to call it, the identical component, staffing component, including what we have and some opportunity for growth in the future, will go from 18,000 to approximately 21,000, about a 10% increase. So to plan for the future, and albeit that also includes, I should say, some synergies in terms of being able to cut down on space and where we can in terms of hoteling, in terms of modern work functions. For instance, some facilities don't need offices because they're only in the office part of the day, that type of thing. So we're looking at both, not just expanding, we're also looking at efficiencies that we can get within the new facilities. So, and again, the 10% we felt was a very fair number, given that this facility will be being used from anywhere from 60 to 100 years. So we can only see what we've done, how we've grown so far, and we highly anticipate that it'll continue.
Okay, give me 1 second. 1 second. So I'd like to, if it's 18,000 square feet to 21,000 square feet, that's actually a 16.7% increase, not 10%, just to make sure that we're dealing with the facts. So thank you very much for answering those questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councilor Brunelle. We're good on that? Any other comments, questions, Council? Okay, the motion is moved by Deputy Mayor Miskimins, seconded by Councilor Loca. Excuse me, that the items under section L1, minutes of council, advisory committees, and other meetings be adopted as distributed. All those in favor? Those opposed? Thank you, the motion is carried. Moving on to item L2, motion is that council session, regular meeting of council minutes, that the closed session regular meeting of council minutes dated June 26, 2024 be adopted as distributed. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And Councilor Walma, thank you. Any discussion on this items, council? We're good? Okay, all those in favor? Thank you, the motion is carried. Moving on to item L3, Committee of the Whole reports for June 26, 2024. The motion is the recommendations contained in the Committee of the Whole Report 06-24-2024 as voted upon be formally approved or adopted, or formally approved and adopted with the exception of any items. So for discussion, moved by Councilor Loca, seconded by Deputy Mayor Miskimins. Discussion on these items? Council, any at this time? Okay. That the recommendations contained, motion is the recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole Report 06-24-2024 as voted upon be formally approved and adopted. All those in favor? Thank you very much. The motion is carried. Okay. Moving on to item section M. Matters for consideration. We'll kick it off with item M1, which is discussion with regards to the Wyville Ball Diamond Community Fundraising Initiative, request for release of donations received. We'll kick this off with Acting CAO LeBlanc.
Thank you, Mayor Evans. So staff were approached by the donators to refund the donations that they provided for the Wyville lighting due to the fact that the project is being deferred to the 2025 budget deliberations. So because it's kind of a new territory for us accepting these donations and then refunding them, we went and sought advice from CRA. CRA did say to reach out to your legal counsel, which we did. And their advice is, yes, you can basically proceed, but the recommendation would be to have, first of all, council's blessing to proceed and refunding those donations with some caveats to ensure that the donators understand that they could be reassessed and other issues can happen when they file their tax returns. So at this point in time, we just want to make sure that council is aware that the request has come forward and we received $17,500 in donations. I understand that they would like the project to still go ahead at some point in the future. So we could be receiving those donations back, but in the meantime, they're asking for council to approve the refund.
Thank you, CIO. Director Leach, I just maybe want to give some background on why we weren't able to do it, just so people understand that it's not something we had planned. We had planned to put this in place, and subsequently we found out some problems with the poles, I believe, right?
That's exactly right. Thanks for clarifying that. When we did look further into the project, the initial was just replacing the lights. Then we had the poles assessed. We had a drone going up and down, and they did notice that there was some cracking on them. What they had advised is that that could have been caused by the netting that was being attached to it. So they did not recommend putting any further different lighting system up. They're safe still. We don't have a safety issue at the field. That was the first question asked. But the second was would we be able to enhance and upgrade the lighting systems? And they did not recommend that we add that extra loading to it, and that we proceed to go out and look at replacing the poles at the same time as the lighting.
Thank you, Director. Appreciate that. So for discussion, I'll just get a mover and a seconder. Councilor Walma, thank you. Seconder, please. Councilor Brunelle, thank you. Councilor Walma, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, just wanted to add, spoke with multiple donors involved in this. There's still supportive of the project, obviously a little frustrated at the speed of play, if you will. One donor has assured me that they will be back at the table for the project in 2025, if and when we're installing poles and lights. So.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments? Yeah, I hope they feel that they make sure the message is that we did want to do this. It will be included in our budget discussions, upcoming budget discussions, and we'll be, sorry, did I take your?
Yeah, that's exactly, thank you through the chair. That was exactly what I was saying. We do have it on the list. It has been, the pricing has been updated as a 2025 capital project that we will be presenting to council. And also we apologize for these delays that did happen. It is a project that we know is very passionate for the local individuals that are involved, and we appreciate what they're doing to help us move this project along. But it will be on the 2025 capital consideration.
Perfect. Thank you, Director. Any other discussion, Council? Okay, I have a mover. So moved by Councilor Walma, seconded by Councilor Brunelle. The motion being, whereas the township was asked to refund charitable donations made toward the 2024 YVL Ball Diamond LED lighting capital project due to the deferral of the project to 2025, TBD, I should mention that. And whereas the township sought legal advice related to the refunding of charitable donations due to CRA implications and rules governing donations received as a corporation. And now therefore it be it resolved that staff be directed to refund the donations as requested and to advise of potential CRA implications as a result of charitable receipts issued. All those in favor? Thank you very much. The motion is carried. Great. Moving on to item M2, discussion extension of deadline for receipt of TTC ad hoc committee applications. So just Pat, maybe Madam Clerk, if you just give the update on our progress so far or lack thereof, and our where we sit right now.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Evans. So certainly, we, as per council direction, we did advertise for the TTAC ad hoc committee for applications. The deadline for applications ended on Monday, July 29th at noon, to which we received 3 applicants. As council may remember, the composition for the ad hoc committee includes 7 community residents, a staff resource, a council rep, and a recording secretary. So at this time, we've only received 3, so we're just seeking confirmation from council that we can proceed to extend the application deadline to see if we receive further interest.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council, any discussions on this? Feedback? Councilor Local, please.
Yeah, through you, your worship, kind of disappointing that, we're asking for 7 people to assist in this project, and we only have 3 applicants. I would call that disappointing. Thank you.
Perhaps they're all on the beach or something. So, but no, I'm fully in favor of extending it myself. Madam Clerk, do we need a motion for this or just direction? Just direction. If anybody's has an opposition to that, we can discuss. But I fully. How long would we would put out another 2 weeks, roughly?
Thank you, Mayor Evans. At least probably another 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay, Councilor, are we good with that? Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll move forward with that then, Madam Clerk. Thank you. So we'll move to extend the reissue the application process. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item M3 is about being a bylaw to appoint a municipal law enforcement officer for the corporation of the township of Tiny. So Chief Harvey, if there's anything you'd like to say on our new bylaw officer, please.
Yes, I'd like to welcome Haley McKee to the Township of Tiny and to our bylaw department as a permanent employee. She's been with the township in our department in various capacities and excelled in all those roles. So it was great that she was the selected candidate, and the bylaw that's before council is more of a housekeeping matter to tidy up the repeal of the former bylaw and recognize Haley as she moves forward in her new role.
Great, thank you, Chief, and please extend our congratulations and our appreciation for her hard work and all of our support in their new role. Thank you very much. All right, to move in a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor, Councilor Holoka, thank you. Council, any discussion on this item as we sit? No? Okay. Motion is that bylaw 24-045 to appoint a municipal law enforcement officer be passed and enacted this 7th day of August 2024. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Motion is carried. Nice to see people progress up and advance in their career. That's great. Council, any new business at this time? Seeing none, any notices of motion? Seeing none. Moving on to bylaws. Number of bylaws, one motion. First bylaw 24-039, being a bylaw to establish and regulate a fire department and to repeal bylaw 11-020. Second bylaw 24-041, being a bylaw to stop up, close, and sell part of the unnamed street Plan 1446, being Part 1 of Plan 51R-44271. Bylaw number 3, bylaw 24-046, being a bylaw to establish part of Lot 15, Concession 20, designated as Part 1 on Plan 51R-44334, Tiny, and part of Lot 14, Concession 20, designated as Part 2 on Plan 51R-44333, Township of Tiny as public highway, and to name the highway West Shore Drive. And bylaw number 4 is bylaw 24-047, being a bylaw to appoint an acting chief administrative officer. Can I have a mover and a seconder for discussion? Thank you. Councilor Walma. Seconded by Councilor Holoka. Council, any discussion on these items? Councilor Brunelle, please.
Thank you. So we haven't discussed this, the first one, P-1.1. We haven't discussed the signing yet, right? On previous council meetings? We have?
Yes, we have, yes. These are all bylaws, yes.
So so I can't remember, I'm pretty sure we had a discussion with Chief Welling.
Yep.
So is there any, so was there, because being a bylaw to establish and regulate a fire department, so we didn't have a bylaw that to establish and regulate a fire department in the past? So is this to reestablish or like to change it, or what are some of the changes?
Chief Welling.
Through the chair to Councilor Brunelle, this is an update to the bylaw. The bylaw was, the last one that we were repealing this evening, if passed, was from 2011. It was outdated and needed some rewording and revamping to ensure we're in compliance.
Great, and so there's no major changes?
No, and all the changes were reviewed. Any of the highlights we did go through at the last meeting.
Yeah, okay, yeah, great, thank you.
Good. Okay, I'd just like to make a note on, and just a notice for the public in terms of bylaw, the last bylaw 24-047, being a bylaw to appoint our deputy CAO as acting CAO, and bittersweet in many ways. Unfortunately, our current CAO, Robert Lamb, has a medical condition that requires him to take some short-term leave of absence. Our thoughts and prayers are with Robert. He's an integral portion, a part of our team here in the township of Tiny, and he will be missed. The tentative date for return is September 8th. And we look forward to him coming back to work even hopefully even sooner, but definitely we'll have an update on September 8th, and we look for him to come back in great health. We're also very lucky and fortunate in the township of Tiny that we have somebody that can, and this is testament to Robert and his team, that can step into his role. And our deputy CAO has done a very admirable job in her previous duties, and now she gets more. So as acting CAO, Haley will be the head of the organization until Robert's return. We are an organization, we're a company, we have to have a chain of command, and Haley will be taking over for that. So we're very fortunate that we have somebody who can step in. I know that Robert's very proud of being able to have someone step in, and the whole team. Unfortunately, sometimes these things happen at the worst times in terms of workload. Summer is always busy, really busy here, and Haley's done a very admirable job so far. She has the full support of not just the council, but all the staff, and hopefully everybody in the community. We're very lucky to have two very accomplished people like this that are working on all of our behalf. So our full support is behind acting CAO. She'll be taking over, not over Robert's duties, but continuing to do her existing duties. We'll be attending AMO with us in Ottawa with council, and we look forward to working with Haley. Probably certainly myself, we're working a little bit together more than we did, and helping her in any way we possibly can. So we look forward to Robert returning. We're also congratulations and job well done by Haley to be able to step in. Thank you. So we have any further discussion, Council? I think I took the air out there. Moved by Councilor Walma, seconded by Councilor Holoka. The proposed bylaws 24-039, 24-041, 24-046, and 24-047 be passed and enacted this 7th day of August 2024. All those in favor, please. Thank you very much. The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And moving on to confirmatory bylaw. The proposed bylaw 24-044 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council be passed and enacted the 7th day of August 2024. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Seconded by Councilor Brunelle. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Motion is carried. And moving on to adjournment. The regular meeting of council for August 7th, 2024 adjourns at 7:02 p.m. Moved by Councilor Walma, seconded by Councilor Holoka. All those in favor? Thank you very much. The motion is carried and the regular meeting is now closed. We'll take a brief, hopefully 5 to 10 minutes break, and then we'll be back with Committee of the Whole. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out tonight, and thank you for participating. Those who made deputations. Thank you. Okay, good. We'll call the meeting back to order. Committee of the Whole meeting for Wednesday, August 7th. Thank you for joining us, those in person, those online. I believe that the video is not working, but the audio is working. So that's probably a good thing, I guess. You don't have to look at us, but it's working now, so that's great. Appreciate you getting that back on order. The meeting will be, of course, be recorded, audio and video for record keeping purposes. And those of you that are in the audience, if you could just be kind and just put your phones on silent for this portion. So, Council, moving into the meeting. The agenda. Any updates, changes, comments? Anybody like to add? Councilor Walma, please.
Your Worship, under new business, I would like to have a discussion with our Director of Corporate Services on some taxation questions.
one of the many hats of our acting CIO, yes, I was going to say, but I'm just making my notes here, so give her some heads up there. Okay, under new business, we'll add corporate services taxation. Anything else, council? Anybody else? Seeing nothing? Okay, good. Moved by, we'll start with Councilor Brunelle. Seconded by Councilor Walma. Excuse me, that the agenda for the committee of the whole meeting be accepted as amended to include under new business corporate services discussion with regards to taxation. All those in favor? Thank you very much. The motion is carried. Council, any declared pecuniary interest conflicts at this time? If any, seeing none, if anything does come up, of course, let's make it aware. We don't have any reports from consultants or third parties at this time, and we'll move into section D, which is staff reports, starting off with D1. Consent items. We have four. First one being County Council highlights of June 25th, 2024. Second, Huronia animal reports for May and June of 2024. The third is CIS-FIN Finance Report -012-24, which is the 2024 Q2 Variance Report. And last report is MLE-006-24, which is our Canada Day Long Weekend Activity Report. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councilor Holoka. And Deputy Mayor Miskimans. Any discussion, council, on this? All good? Okay, good. So the motion being that items under D1 consent items be received as information. All those in favor? Thank you. The motion is carried. Okay, moving on to D2, matters for consideration. The first item is item D.2.1, deputation discussion by Boris Kowalski, request for referendum on new administrative building. Can I move her in a seconder for discussion, please? Councilor Loca, thank you. Seconded by Councilor Walma. And the motion is the scheduled deputation of June 26, 2024 from Boris Kowalski regarding referendum on the new administration center be received as information. Any discussion on this, council? Councilor Brunelle, please.
Great, thank you. Most of us have seen the sea of stop the building signs standing on private lawns. This is sending a clear message. Our community is speaking up. These signs aren't just an expression of dissent. They are a call to action, urging us, the elected representatives of Tiny, to listen and respond to the concerns of our residents. The proposed Tiny Township Administration Center has stirred strong emotions and raised significant questions. The projected costs of this building have been met with skepticism, and for good reason. We've all seen how public projects of this nature tend to exceed their initial budgets. Trust in these figures is understandably low, and the onus is on us to ensure transparency and accountability. Beyond the financial concerns, the TTAC has been billed as a green initiative, potentially achieving a carbon net zero status once completed and occupied. But we must ask ourselves, how green is it really? The ecological impact of the construction itself, considering the emissions from concrete and steel production, is substantial, as would be the impact to ecology of the zone designated for construction. Are we truly pursuing an environmentally responsible path? Or is there another agenda cloaked in green rhetoric? Perhaps the most...
privilege.
Point is, sir, council?
Your worship, I'm going to ask the councillor to clarify what he means by cloaked, suggesting that there's an undertone of what, sir?
Councillor Brunelle, are you able to respond to that?
Can I respond after I finish my thing?
Certainly. So you can do it after he's done. It's speech will go on for a while. We'll probably have another one.
Thank you.
Go.
Perhaps the most significant issue, however, is a lack of meaningful public engagement. For most constituents, this project seemed to arrive out of nowhere, with little to no meaningful impact from the people it will most affect. This has led to a sense of disillusionment and frustration, as Tiny appears to have strayed from the Canadian model of peace, order, and good government. It is imperative that we restore trust in our democratic processes and ensure that all voices are heard. Members of council have spoken of a silent majority in favor of the TTAC. If that is the case, then let's test the accuracy of this claim. Let's hold a referendum on the future of this project, supported by an honest and robust information campaign. Let's provide our citizens with the facts they need to make an informed decision. If the majority of the people of Tiny choose to move forward with the TTAC, the single largest expense Tiny has ever proposed, by far, we should respect that decision. If the people decide against it, we must honor their wishes as well. This is the essence of democracy, and it is our duty as elected officials to uphold it. No less important, for the sake of our community's well-being, a referendum will be the best way to unite our presently so clearly divided community around this project. I encourage my fellow councillors, the mayor, and the deputy mayor to support this call for a referendum. Let's restore faith in our governance by putting this decision where it belongs, in the hands of the people of the Township of Tiny. Thank you.
I'll bring it up. Okay. Thank you, Councilor Brunelle. If you could respond to the earlier point of order, please.
Yes, thank you.
Maybe you could just reread the statement that was taken.
Yeah, certainly. Are we pursuing an environmentally responsible path, or is there another agenda cloaked in green rhetoric? Cloaked, how can I define cloak? I think Dr. Kowalski would do a much better job than myself as a PhD on this definition of cloak. The way I see it, a cloak will darken or cover up. That's what to me what cloak means.
So you're not judging it.
Sorry, can you? So there's a report that's over 1,900 scientists have declared that there's not a
We're talking about cloak, though, Councilor
Yeah,
Brunelle.
well, I'm talking about the green rhetoric now.
Okay.
But so just cloak. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
There seems to be something hidden about a green agenda.
Okay, Councilor Walma?
Your worship, the way that I interpret that is that there's alleging that there's something dirty happening, there's a fix-in of some kind. Council has never said that we are building a building to be more green. We are building a building to be more efficient, and we are going to be green. The municipality, through our official plans, strategic plans, have always identified that we are an environmentally focused community. So for us to build a new administrative building and not incorporate those green initiatives would not be responsible planning. That is my opinion of that. I take offense to the opinion that you just offered in public that there is some secret agenda. So, thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Walma.
As you see, this is a clear division in our community because of the things that are being said, the values and philosophies of people are going to be on different pages. And another reason why we should have a referendum, because we need to put it to the people, because they have values and principles that I value the most, and because they're going to be after we're long gone from council, they're going to be still taking care of this initiative of this project that's going to be built, this building, and that 30-year burden financially. So on your point, this is exactly why we need a referendum.
Okay, thanks, Councilor Brunelle. Council, any other discussion this time? Council, any other discussion? Okay, we'll move to a vote.
So
Motion is-
actually, I would like to propose a motion. Whereas the Black Line Consulting Report released in January 2023 provided recommended administrative center space required for the efficient conduct of municipal operations and promoted flexible working arrangements for staff, and that the report notes a recommended 15,050 square feet required for municipal operations which exists within the current administration center building, and that a revised layout should be considered. Whereas, whereas the cost of the project threatened to be a very great, substantial greater than those estimated by council's chosen consultants. This means the project would result in tax increases substantially higher than those projected. The consequent financial burden on our small community with its modest tax base would be heavy in the best of times. Whereas we can all agree that circumstances have changed dramatically for the worse over the last 4 to 5 years, and as a result, our local economy and our community as a whole is even less capable of bearing the financial burden of an extravagant new building project than it might have been before the pandemic. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Tiny pause their support for the new TTAC project and therefore avoid placing an unnecessary further financial burden on the Township of Tiny residents, and to conduct a referendum.
Well, Councilor Brunelle, we're going to deal with what's, we're currently discussing a recommendation with regards to deputation of Boris Kowalski. We can discuss, deal with this matter, and then we can discuss your motion, okay? All right, so moved by Councilor Loca and seconded by Councilor Walma, that the scheduled deputation of June 26, 2024 from Boris Kowalski regarding a referendum on the new administrative center be received as information. All those in favor? Thank you very much. The motion is carried. So, Councilor Brunelle, if you could perhaps maybe, let's say reread it again, but maybe just the highlights of what we're, and then we'll discuss and go from there.
Okay, thank you. So the motion? Whereas the Black Line Consulting Report, I'm basically going word for word from David Wolf's Administration Center deputation of June 26, released in 2023, provide recommended administrative center space required for the efficient conduct for municipal operations and promoted flexible working arrangements for staff. And the report notes a recommended 15,050 square feet required for municipal operations which exists within the current administration center building, and that a revised layout should be considered. Whereas the cost of the project threatened to be very great, substantially greater than those estimated by council's chosen consultants, which means the project would result in tax increases substantially higher than those projected. The consequent financial burden on our small community with its modest tax base would be heavy in the best of times. We can all agree that circumstances have changed dramatically for the worse over the last 4 to 5 years, and as a result, our local economy and our community as a whole is even less capable of bearing the financial burden of an extravagant new building project than it might have been before the pandemic. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Tiny pause their support for the new TTC project and therefore avoid placing an unnecessary further financial burden on the Township of Tiny residents and to conduct a referendum.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a seconder for discussion? None at this time. Okay, motion is denied.
Quiet, please. Quiet, please.
Quiet. This is still a council chambers. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and everybody is entitled to, and we respect everybody's opinion, even if we don't agree with it. You have to do that. You have to do that. We all have to do that. That's what democracy is. We don't always agree with everything, but you have to agree to it. Okay, moving on.
I apologize.
Okay. I know. Okay, moving on. Sorry, I lost track of where we are here. Moving on, item matters of consideration, item D 2.2, which is discussion and deputation by Frank Dunnigan of the Blue Water Community Action Group with regards to paid parking at Blue Water Beach Park and 5th concession. So, moved by, for discussion, Deputy Mayor Miskimins. Seconded by Councilor Walma, thank you. For discussion, and Deputy Mayor, take it away.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. I think based on the deputation, we had asked staff to provide some more information. I think we are still in the waiting process. So, Mr. Dunnigan, I know you're in the audience there. Appreciate your deputation. I think my ask is that we just receive it for, wow. We need information from staff in order to discuss it, so it will, I believe, come back to us and it will be received on another night on an agenda once we have a chance to review the information from staff. So just want to assure you, although we're receiving it for information today, I don't think there's any further discussion because we're still awaiting information. Don't want you to feel like it's been lost.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I like to add myself too, that this, your area, we're looking at the whole township. And I think we discussed that before. It's not something that's directed at your specific area. It's just, frankly, an exercise for us to be able to see what opportunities we have to expand parking where it makes sense and hopefully gain a little bit more revenue too. So, but I appreciate your comments and providing background because I didn't know much about it myself until you came along. So thank you for participating. I appreciate it. Thank you. Councilor Walma, please.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, maybe we could have Chief Harvey, if he has a projected timeline on coming back with a staff report on the parking.
Yeah, thank you. Given that it's more consolidation of historical stuff, I don't see it taking too long, so I'm optimistic we'll have it at the end of the third quarter, worst case, the beginning of the fourth, but I'm trying to get it in for the end of the third quarter.
What are quarters? September? Okay.
Oh, that's the start of the quarter. Give him a break. Okay, great. Thanks, Chief. Any other discussion on this? Good. Thanks again. Moved by Deputy Mayor Miskimins, second by Councilor Walma, the scheduled deputation of June 26, 2024 from Frank Dunnigan, Blue Water Community Action Group, requesting no changes be made to the existing parking model at the Blue Water Beach area be received and taken under consideration. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Motion is carried. Moving on to item D 2.3, which is discussion with regards to Township of Tiny Administrative Center and Municipal Address. For discussion, a mover and a seconder, please. Thank you. Deputy Mayor. Councilor Holoka. Director Leach, maybe we'll just give us some background on this one.
Yeah, certainly. The property for the new administrative center is located on Concession 9 East. The property there was two properties. They have been consolidated into one. One of the things that we need to establish is an address for the property, a 911 address, especially once the works commence, then we need to have an emergency access number. Working with the planning group, we came up with some different options, and we have to be careful from a geographic standpoint that we maintain a certain number system, and an estimate of where we're going to install the entrance would be. We've come up with a variety of different numbers, and through the TTAC, we felt it was good to have council take a look at these numbers, because sometimes numbers, when you add them up, equal lucky numbers, like the 8, for example, and different types of things. And so numbers actually mean something, and when we have a building like this that's going to be visited by many people, we want to make sure that we take advantage. It may seem like a small thing, but it's not. These would be odd numbers is what we need to be on that side of the concession road. 245, 247, 249, 251, 253, 255, 257, and 259. Just a comment, 251 would represent right about the middle of the property. And I'll just say what we talked about, the TTAC, that also equals 8, which has a fair amount of luck associated to it. The others are 11, 13, 15, 10, 12, 14, and 16 is what they total to. So we thought we'd put it to council and that you fine gentlemen pick which one.
Thank you, Director. Yes, in our committee, we couldn't decide, so pass the buck to you guys. So, discussion, comments, preference? Councilor Loca, you got a smile going.
255. Or 225, whatever it is. 255? Is 255 an option?
Yes, that was.
Yes, it was.
Okay, that's my vote.
I'm in agreement with that too.
Sure.
Councilor Walma?
I'm fine with 255.
Okay. Councilor Brunelle?
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Bring on 255.
Okay, there we go. We've got 255. Wow, that was fast.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the motion is, whereas council considered the municipal address for the new administrative center, now therefore it is recommended that 255 Concession Road 9 East be approved as the new administrative center municipal address. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to, item 2.4, D 2.4, Public Work Report PWR-027-24, it's housekeeping issue here, Heritage Wood Security Reduction. A mover and a seconder for discussion on this one. Thank you, Councilor Loca. And Councilor Brunelle, thank you. Any discussion on this one, Council? It's pretty straightforward. Okay. Motion is the Public Works Report PWR-027-24 regarding a security reduction for Phase 2 Heritage Woods be received, and the Council approves the release of $206,845.51 security reduction for substantial completion and retain $103,231.51 for the 2-year warranty. All those in favor? Thank you. The motion is carried. And moving on to item D 2.5, Planning Development Report PD-014-24, zoning bylaw amendment application for Waugh Farms, located at 71 Concession 15 West. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Brunelle. Councilor Walma, seconding. Discussion on this one, Council? No? Okay, motion is the Planning and Development Report PD-014-24 regarding a zoning bylaw amendment application from Waugh Farms Limited, owners of 71 Concession 15 West, be received, and that council consider approval of bylaw 24-043 being a bylaw to amend a zoning bylaw 22-075 as amended at the August 28th, 2004 meeting. All those in favor? Thank you. The motion is carried. Okay, committees, nothing at this time. Discussion of motions, notice has been previously given, not at this time. I just want to make sure we're good. Under communications, G, we have a number of items. Council, anything that anybody would like to pull at this time for discussion or comment? Don't want to pull it, sorry, didn't comment on. Anything that, on these items? Councilor Walma?
G11, please.
G11, okay.
Me as well, Gene.
211 for both, okay. Times 2. Councilor Brunelle, please.
Thank you. G12
Okay.
and G.1.7,
Okay.
which ties into G.1.8.
Thank you. Anything else, Council? Covered? Okay, good. Okay, we'll kick it off with G11, which is Ontario Ombudsman Review, closed meeting complaint, Township of Tiny Administrative Center Committee meetings. We'll start with Councilor Walma, please.
Thank you, Worship, through you. Just something to be shared. We've had lots of criticism in the public about the way we've conducted meetings in the past. So there have been complaints officially filed with the Ombudsman. The report came back that we are compliant with all the relevant legislation. And further to that, this doesn't happen very often. We're even commended for the additional information by the Ombudsman for publicly posting the minutes of a committee that is not required to do so. So that's all, Your Worship. Thank you.
Councilor Walma, thank you. Deputy Mayor? Oh, sorry. Councilor Loco? Sure.
Sure, I'd like to ask, through you, Your Worship, Director LeBlanc, how much this complaint cost the taxpayers to investigate?
CAO?
Roughly?
Sorry, through Councilor Holuka, I do not have that information.
Okay, do you think at some point in the near future we could get that?
I would have to, I would have to talk with clerk, not for filing with the ombudsman, right? Yeah, that's not something that the municipality pays for.
It's provincially funded.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, through you, Your Worship, for the public's knowledge. I would actually like to take a few minutes and read this publicly, the letter. I think it's important that the public understand, those that don't have computer access necessarily or know how to work the links in the agenda. If you would indulge me, Your Worship, I would like to take a few minutes and just read the entire letter.
By all means.
If you don't mind, thank you. Council for the Township of Tiny, care of Mayor David Evans. Dear members of Council for the Township of Tiny, regarding closed meeting complaints. My office received complaints about the meeting practices of the Township of Tiny Administrative Center Committee, otherwise known as the TTAC Committee. The complaints raised general concerns that the TTAC Committee was not holding meetings that are open to the public, as required by the Municipal Act 2001, further referred to as the Act. I'm writing to advise that my review has determined that the TTAC Committee is not subject to the open meeting rules in the Act or the Township of Tiny, referred to as the Township throughout the letter, procedure bylaw. The Ombudsman role and authority. As of January 1st, 2008, the Act gives anyone the right to request an investigation into whether a municipality has complied with the Act in closing a meeting to the public. Municipalities may appoint their own investigator. The Act designates the Ombudsman as the default investigator for municipalities that have not appointed their own. My office is the closed meeting investigator for the Township of Tiny. My office has investigated hundreds of closed meetings since 2008. To assist municipal councils, staff, and the public, we have developed an online digest of open meeting cases. This searchable repository was created to provide easy access to the Ombudsman's decisions on and interpretations of the open meeting rules. Council members and staff can consult the digest to inform their discussions and decisions on whether certain matters can or should be discussed in closed session, as well as issues related to open meeting procedures. Summaries of the Ombudsman's previous decisions can be found in the digest www.ombudsman.on.ca/digest. The Ontario Ombudsman also has the authority to conduct impartial reviews and investigations of hundreds of public sector bodies. This includes municipalities, local boards, and municipally controlled corporations, as well as provincial government organizations, publicly funded universities, and school boards. In addition, the Ombudsman's mandate includes reviewing complaints about the services provided by children's aid societies and residential licensees, and the provision of French language services under the French Language Services Act. You can read more about the bodies within our jurisdiction here at www.ombudsman.on.ca/have-a-complaint/who we oversee. Review. My office reviewed relevant documentation, including the Township of Tiny Administrative Project Charter, the council resolution that originally established the TTAC committee, and the township's procedure bylaw. We also spoke with the Director of Legislative Services and the clerk and the Chief Administrative Officer. Analysis. In order to be subject to the open meeting provisions under the Act, a body must be a council, a local board, or a committee of either. Under the Act, a committee is defined as consisting of 50% or more members of one or more councils or local boards. The TTAC committee has 7 voting members, of whom 2 are members of council and the remainder are staff. As less than 50% of its members are members of council, the TTAC committee is not a committee subject to the open meeting rules in the Act. Similarly, neither the Township's procedure bylaw nor the Township of Tiny Administrative Center Project Charter requires the TTAC committee to follow the open meeting rules. The Charter specifically states that meetings will not be open to the public. The Chief Administrative Officer also told my office that the Township considers the TTAC committee to be an internal committee, not a public one. For the reasons above, I've determined that the TTAC committee is not a committee subject to the open meeting rules. Although it is not required to follow the open meeting rules, my review identified that the Township has taken steps to provide information to the public about the TTAC's committee's operations, including by posting relevant information and meeting minutes on its website. I commend the Township for taking these steps to increase the transparency of the TTAC committee's activities. Conclusion. The Township of Tiny Administrative Center Committee is not subject to the open meeting rules. Under the circumstances, my office will not be taking further steps regarding these open meeting complaints. I would like to thank the Township for its cooperation during my review. The Director of Legislative Services and the clerk indicated that this letter would be shared with council and placed on the agenda for the next council meeting, and that a copy will be made available to the public prior to that meeting. At that time, I will also post a copy of this letter on my website at www.ombudsman.on.ca. Sincerely, Paul Dubé, Ombudsman of Ontario. That is for the public to see the feedback received. That helps to ensure that all municipalities follow the rules under the Act. I thank you for your indulgence, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Appreciate that. Any other comments on item G 1.1? We're good. Okay, we'll move on. Councilor Brunelle, please, G 1.2 and 1.7.
Great, thank you very much. This is in regards of the application for approval of waste disposal sites, application for approval of waste disposal sites, renewal of hauled sewage disposal site, Township of Tiny, County of Simcoe, reference number 5642-D6LPMB. This proposal is for the renewal of environmental compliance approval number 6034-CDFMQ4 for Regional Sanitation Disposal Limited for hauled sewage waste disposal site. The application is for the spreading of residential hauled sewage in the Township of Tiny, Ontario. The site is approximately 21 hectares in area with a total usable spreading area of 6.4 hectares. Additional details relating to the application can be found at the Environmental Registry of Ontario, www.ero.ontario.ca/019-8957. I highly recommend that the residents of Tiny do place a comment if they have issues with such a site. The comment period is from July 22nd of 2024 to September 5th, 2024. So it's open for 45 days. It's a way to express comments to this ministry and also to see what other comments are being said about it. And also there's a contact information. Let us know what you think of our proposal and you can contact them. This has nothing to do with regional sanitation disposal. They're just doing their due diligence and they're allowed to do this at this time. So please, there should be no ill will against this company or any company that pumps sewage. That's not what it's about. This is a public engagement session or tool that you can leave comments and express your concerns or approval of such waste sites. I just wanted to make that point.
Great, thanks, Councilor Brunelle. Any comments on G 1.2? Councilor Walma, please.
Thank you, Worship, through you. And just to clarify again that this is a renewal, so this has already been an existing facility in the municipality servicing the community for many years. I don't have that, how long off the top of my head. Thank you.
Councilor Brunelle?
Thank you, and I believe the renewal is for a 10-year period, if I read it correctly.
Okay. Okay, great. G 1.7.
Yes, so I believe we are waiting for a report from the SSEA on this particular topic. I believe that's what that was the direction from council. Is that correct or not?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so do we have any idea? Actually, I believe we have a member of the SSEA on council. So through you, Chair, to Councilor Walma, do we have any idea when this report for this particular topic?
Well, with all due respect, I think that's something that should go to Julie Cayley, the Executive Director. But it certainly can get staff to send out a note, unless.
I'm happy to give.
Or you can. Okay, I don't want to put you on the spot, but.
Thank you, Worship, through you. We have TC Energy coming to our next quarterly board meeting to do a presentation.
And what's the date of that presentation?
September 6th.
Great, and is it open to the public?
Our meetings are open to the public.
Excellent, thank you very much. And I guess the website is ssea.com, I guess?
No, the website is Severn Sound Environmental. Actually, I'll tell you in 2 seconds.
Thank you.
Our website is severnsound.ca. And our meetings are not live streamed. They are recorded and posted after the fact. So they, if someone wishes to see it live, they can attend. And that meeting is scheduled to be, it just got sent out. Oh, sorry. At the Wymarsh Wildlife Center at 9:30 a.m. on September 6th.
Thank you very much.
Good. Council, any other comments on G 1.7? Okay, good. Moving on. Thank you very much. And the motion is moved by Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Walma. And the motion being the consent items under section G, communications, be received as information. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion is carried. Okay. Matters for consideration, G2, moving the first one we'll discuss is, consideration, Midland and Penetanguishene and Tay joint letter, user fees and charges for all recreation amenities / services. So, council, any discussion and consideration on this? Councilor Walma?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, just very high level, I guess, and was saying that from my perspective, I don't want to see a decrease in the service availability to our residents. So I think that I am in favor of going forward with the review of this to find out what kind of costs are associated with running the recreational components in North Simcoe. The only thing that I want to make sure that our senior leadership, so yourself, the CAO, whoever's at the table with this discussion, would be that we also have recreational services that we provide to our neighboring municipalities, and there is a cost to operate those as well. So for me, I just want to make sure that that is recognized in whatever criteria is set out for. I believe we're asking for a third-party review of the services to calculate exactly what those costs are and how they'd be allocated across the 4 municipalities.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm a little bit remiss. I should have brought forward our able media consultant in the back. Published an article in July 31st, I believe it was, with regards to this exact item. Where in the township, there's been development since the letter first came. So the development is that the letter that we're discussing or we're looking at is July 9th. The township of Tay has subsequently said that they will not participate in this process, even though they signed the letter on the 9th. So just so you're aware of what goes on. And to your point, there was an initial discussion or initial reach out, and the letter that we received was from 2 of the parties was basically, we want to go back to the status quo, and we made this decision a while ago to suspend any funding with regards to shared services because of for a number of reasons, and those reasons are still relevant. So I see no reason to participate if it's a question of status quo or going back to what we had before. Your point about other services that we do provide. Personally, I'm against user fees. I really am, for a number of reasons. But the thing for me was that, first of all, the amount of support that we give these 2 communities in terms of commercial tax revenue far outweighs any costs. And to take punitive action against us for facilities of which we have no say or cannot contribute in any ways to frankly, the amount we donate is in terms of the revenue they garner from us is it's insignificant almost. So to target children and especially a lot of families, as we all were when we were young, you don't have a lot of money when you're kids and trying to put your kids in programs, and then to get hit with another $200 or $300 is something that's the difference between a kid playing a sport and not. And I certainly don't want to do that. We have almost 1,500 children that participate in our day camp program. So I'm with you, though. I'm always open to discussions. I think that I've had discussions informally with a couple of people from neighboring municipalities in terms of recreation programs and things of what we can do moving forward. So I'm always open to that. But as far as, and I wanted just to counsel, but I will not return to, from my perspective, I will not return to what was in place before. If we're going to donate money and we're going to be part of this, then we should be an equal participant. And in the past, we have not been as a township. We've had no say. We have no stake in the game, frankly. So we've got a large township. A very a lot of people here want to participate, and we want to provide those opportunities. So, but then I would again, given the information I just passed along, I would probably just put this on hold for now until we find out more about what is actually happening. There's no point in acting on this or providing direction if we're not actually sure what the direction will be moving forward. If Tay doesn't participate, then we'll have to have informal discussions and try to bring it together. And this is something that we have informal mayor, deputy mayor meetings, and the next one will be early September, I believe. I'm sure this will be on the agenda then. And we can discuss it then and then come back to council with something a little more substantial. Councilor Brunelle, please.
Yes, I believe, Councilor Holoka, did you have your hand up? Did you want to say something? Go ahead.
Councilor Holoka, sorry, I missed that.
That's okay. Through you, Your Worship. Yeah, I'd hate to see us getting into a nickel and dime situation where we're charging for people to use our trails in the winter We're charging non-residents for our summer recreation programs. I think it's silly. I concur with you, Your Worship, about the commercial tax benefits that both Penetanguishene and Midland get from us. And I just wanted to say that I think it would be silly to punish the children moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Brunelle, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I totally agree with Councilor Walma on this issue. This is a very complex issue. It's a rural versus urban services provider, user fee, no user fee, tax base. Like it's a very, very complex issue. The only way that we're going to resolve this is going to the table, and we've suspended, doesn't mean we permanently decide to do this. We suspended. So the only way we're going to be able to resolve something is by going to the table and having formal discussions, not informal, but formal discussions. And this is not, oh, we're going to go to the table and, oh, they're going to do something that we don't want to do. That's not going to happen. We are going to represent the best interests of the Township of Tiny residents, but we need to meet with our North Simcoe neighbors. We have to. Like, I don't see what the situation is not meeting with them. Tay probably brought up because we weren't involved. Whatever's going on, hopefully they come back to the table if we decided to partake in the talking about this issue up informal with the neighboring councils.
Deputy Mayor, then Councillor Walma.
Thanks, Your Worship, through you. I look at kind of the history of the area, and from what I've been told is sometime in the 90s when Midland annexed our commercial lands just off Highway 93, the understanding was that their commercial tax revenue would help offset any kind of fees that would have gone into that North Simcoe Recreation Center. So the fact that here we are, 25, 30 years later, I'm not going to comment on how money's managed, but now all of a sudden they find themselves in a pickle and they're trying to use children to ask us for more money when we've been generous in the past, when we didn't have to be, quite frankly, and we've given, taxpayers money in the spirit of cooperation, generosity, and making sure the kids have an outlet. As you said earlier, sometimes $100 is the difference between whether a kid plays or not. I think, they're getting a lot of tax revenue as a result of annexing those lands. So I do take issue with that. We do offer services already. We do shared services within North Simcoe. Midland started a beach bus to Bomb Beach this year. I don't remember that coming to council for us to approve. So there's certainly taking advantage of what the beautiful township of Tiny has to offer. We've never discussed user fees. There could be a user fee for that bus to enter our area. Other cities do that. I think before, what is it, not Ontario Links, no, not Links, whatever the one is in Toronto. I'm so out of Toronto. Whatever that new Metro Links, that's it. At one time when a TTC bound bus crossed into either York region or Peel region, you had to pay an additional fare. Now they've done away with that. The way of the future is not to charge user fees. We've seen the transit system take that away. So unless there's something productive that's going to happen in these discussions around, we're not going to talk user fees. We're going to talk about other strategies as municipalities to help offset those continuing costs of all the different recreational facilities in North Simcoe. It's a moot point. I don't think we should be discussing user fees.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Walma.
So, Your Worship and Deputy Mayor, you guys suggested that you have an upcoming Heads of Council meeting and this will be one of the agenda items. So I'm happy to, I guess, defer this matter until you've had the opportunity to go back to the table and have that discussion. For me though, when we're talking about user fees, at the end of the day, I guess we got to draw it back to our library discussions that happened in the past, is we don't have an arena. And whether the user fee is implemented or not, it will have an impact here. So, and I would rather us, if this goes forward, as Councilor Brunelle said, have a seat at the table so that we're representing our interests in that same study, and we're able to maybe this study happens by a third-party consultant, and they say, wow, the trail system in Tiny is worth X number of dollars, and this is how much money it's spent on it. It's actually cheaper than an arena system. Like, maybe the study comes out that it's all out in the wash. Mm-hmm. What I'm getting at is that if I would like to be at that table if we get to that phase of the game. So, thank you, Your Worship.
Yeah, I agree with that too, Councilor Walma, but I guess to your point, I appreciate your confidence, and we'll bring that up in a heads of council meeting. But as far as being at the table, yes, we do want to be at the table because we want to be able to add to this. And but given that one of the four has left and indicated they won't participate, I think we're still at a pretty formative stage. So why don't we defer this till September, and then we can, at the very least, provide an update after the heads of council meeting as to where this initiative is going, if anywhere. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Sorry, moving on to matters for consideration, which is item G 2.2, which was with regards to Trish and Rob Campbell, requests for library privileges at Wasaga Beach. So I'll kick this one off. Personally, I am in favor of. I know that our acting CIO has already had discussions with Wasaga Beach, and it just really hasn't really gone too far yet. I will, though. I have one caveat with this: is that if we could run the same program that we do with Midland and Penetang, and frankly, well, Penetang, somebody comes in, we still pay for them to go, and Springwater, running the same allegory program that we have with Wasaga Beach. But I would like to, and I'll throw this out to the public, honestly, I don't want you to spend all your time for two people. Not that I don't like these two people or they're really bad, but let's try and get some groundswell there. So we don't want to make a whole bunch of work for people if it's really not something that people take over. But I know the facility. We've been to the facility, and it's a gorgeous. Their library is actually larger than our new Tiny Township Administrative Center is. Just as an aside, but it's a beautiful facility, and for the people on the southern end of Tiny Township, and it may make sense for people to go to Wasaga Beach as opposed to, say, Springwater, and if we can do it for the same cost, I'm all for it. So, my 2 cents, Council, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, fully agree. I think we've got a lot of residents in kind of in the Woodland Beach area where, Wasaga is probably a lot more convenient for them to use it. And to your point, if we can get a similar contract reached with the town of Wasaga Beach, as we do with Midland and Springwater, I think that just gives more options. Again, one library membership per family, again, managing costs around that, so that gives people more choice as to what their preference was. And to your point, it is a beautiful facility.
Councilor Walma.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd take it even one step further. I completely agree that in the long run, it would be great to have that public input and enter into a contract negotiation that we have with Midland and Springwater existing. However, if someone wanted to go to the library right now, they already have user fees set up. I would be fine with council adopting the same program that we've been doing with Penetang in the interim basis, where they can pay up front for their library fees and bring the receipt in for reimbursement until such time as we have a contract.
I'd agree with that. As an interim, I think long-term, we want to build on this, right? It's not just a library. We want to be able to, frankly, you're right, we don't have an arena, and I can't see an arena in the even the far distant future, but to be able to use that facility and to get the interaction with neighboring municipalities, even not neighboring, I think is in the best interest of Tiny. So, yeah, I'd be in favor of that as well. Councilor Brunelle?
I'd be in favor of that as well.
Okay, good. Councilor Oak, I think we're all good on that.
Through your worship, I would be in favor as well.
Okay. So, Madam Clerk, I think we have some somewhat concrete direction on that one, that we would like to be able to implement first stage on a short-term reimbursement program for memberships at Wasaga Beach. And then long-term to, given probably a good way to find out the popularity, if people are given the opportunity and put out there on Tiny Connect to say, you can come in and do this. And then hopefully we can formalize it and then use that same relationship and on multiple facilities. So moving forward. Great. Okay, good. Super.
They have a new twin pad.
They have a new twin pad too. That's right. Yep. We're all good. Okay, moving on to item H, new business. And we have one new business item with Councilor Walma. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Oh, my bad. Sorry. Certainly, we'll take a few seconds here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Oh, they are fairly long, sorry. Okay, referring to matter of consideration, item G2.1, Midland, Penetanguishene and Tay joint letter with regards to user fees and charges for all recreation amenities and services. The recommendation is that correspondence dated July 9th, 2024 from the towns of Midland and Penetanguishene and the township of Tay requesting confirmation of interest in participating in a regional recreational amenities and services study. Now therefore it is recommended that the matter be deferred at this time until further information is obtained at the upcoming Heads of Council meeting, with the matter to be placed on the September Committee of the Whole agenda for consideration. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Miskimins and Councilor Walma. All those in favor? Thank you very much. It's carried unanimously. Now, moving on to item G2.2, which with regards to Trish and Rob Campbell request for library privileges at Wasaga Beach. The motion is that correspondence dated July 10th, 2024 from Trish and Rob Campbell regarding a request for library privileges at the Wasaga Beach Library located at 544 River Road West be received, and that staff be directed to use its communication applications to garner public interest, and further that staff look into this matter with such an agreement to be similar to existing reciprocal library agreements, and that in the interim, Tiny residents who wish to use the Wasaga Beach Library be reimbursed the user fees per household by the township accordingly. Can I have a mover or seconder, please? Thank you, Councilor Loca. Seconded by Councilor Brunelle. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you very much. The motion is carried. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now, new business. Moving on to Councilor Walma's discussion with regards to corporate services and in particular taxation. Councilor Walma, take it away.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, and I'm going to need council's indulgence to explain the concept of my idea so that we can maybe get staff to report back on its viability from like, I guess, some levy, what's the word? It's legally possible. So we've gone through the numbers with the MPAC. The average MPAC in Tiny is 350K. And when you extrapolate those numbers based on the projections for the new build, that is $76.65 a year, spread over 30 years for a total of $22.99.50. Okay, so now I'm going to make round numbers a little easier so that I can do the visualization, if you will. So let's assume that your property value is higher and that your overall projection for the build is $5,000 flat. When we are doing our projections, we are debenturing the project over 30 years with these, right? The original assumption was 4.7 debenture, 4.771%. And when you look at those numbers, again, we're going to do a high level assumption. It is less than that, but we're going to say that approximately half of those costs are interest rates. So the idea would be for, we'll call this a capital fundraising initiative, would be If someone came in under the projections they owe $5,000, knowing that half of those costs are interest, we give them a choice. They can either pay the interest fees over the term of the debenture that we are essentially forcing upon them, or they could donate half. So they make the donation of $2,500 because now they have made an upfront. There would be no interest on their portion of those fees. And theoretically, that individual, because the municipality is a charitable, we meet the same criteria as a charitable organization, would theoretically get a portion of that charitable receipt back on their income tax, and then we would apply to that property, not to the individual, the fact that they've already made the contribution to the build. So going forward, they don't have to contribute anymore. So I guess the idea is choice. Can you break it out? And the reason why I bring this up as potentially even an option, my past terms of council, we had a discussion at the county level where we talked about breaking garbage out. And instead of having it taxed based on MPAC, it would have been a flat fee per household basis. There was a big argument. There was lots of discussion about whether or not we could even do something like that. Turned out at the time that you could. So this seems a new concept to me that theoretically could save individuals a significant amount of money up front, or sorry, I guess over the long term if they're willing to shell out for their portion of the build up front. I will write down my idea, I guess, in a little more detail, but I was hoping that we could maybe have staff take a look at this, unless they have a solid yes, no to begin with.
Thank you, Councilor Walma. Sounds like a great idea, very innovative, and fully support it. So I won't put our our acting CAO on the spot right now, but we can discuss it in a bit. But yeah, this is obviously something we can take back, and alternative forms of financing for the building are something that we talked about in our committee, and anything from buy a brick to corporate support and things are the ideas that we're looking at, and those are the things that are going to come out of the ad hoc committee once we get it going, and what ideas we can use that are maybe non-traditional, but at the same time that are very, very worthwhile. And I thank you for your creative thinking. It's good, Deputy Mayor.
Thanks through you, Your Worship, Councilor Walma. Interesting idea. It's very interesting. I guess my question would be, within the debenture, is it open for us to do, sort of lump sum payments without any penalty or interest? I know sometimes on mortgages, you're kind of capped at what you can pay up front or on a yearly basis. I want to do a big lump sum payment. If you go over it, you get some penalties. So I think that's just from the deputy or the acting CAO's part. Not putting you on the spot, Haley, by any means, but I think that's something that also needs to go into whatever information as far as the staff report goes back on that, just to make sure that we're not being penalized on the back end for these things, because it's an interesting idea.
Good, okay.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to provide some clarity. So first of all, the Municipal Act is very strict on what we can do with regards to taxes. We have to levy equally all assessments for taxes. And the only exception to that is really the ratios for the different types of properties. There is no option that I'm aware of with the suggestion that you've given that will allow us to give a break on taxes if somebody decides to donate. And again, the donation would be on their income tax. That would be, it could be offset through that, but essentially there is no option for a municipality to alter the tax levy for different individuals. Administratively, that would be, I couldn't even comprehend how much work that would be for staff. As far as the debenture is concerned, so a debenture is there is no option of lump sum payments. That is I guess the benefit of a debenture, in the sense of you're getting a lower rate than a traditional loan. You don't have to renegotiate every 5 years or every 10 years that term and risk having a higher interest rate. So once you lock in, you have the same payment. until the end of the debenture. And again, that debenture example that staff have proposed to council has not been decided. If you go with a lower term, yes, your payments are going to be higher, but you will incur less interest costs. So those are some of the pieces of information that I'm going to offer to council as they talk about this a little bit more. And then one other thing to note, everybody knows the interest rates are coming down. So hopefully by the time we do have to secure any sort of financing, we'll have a much better scenario.
Thank you, Haley. So, Councilor Walma,
So, and I'm
still good?
And I'm just gonna say, I still think that this is something worth exploring, and I just say it only because the county staff had the same response when we talked about breaking up that the garbage costs, was that we have a certain set of rules we have to follow, and they were able to figure out a way to make that component happen. So I'm just, yeah, I would like a further investigation into this. That's what I'm asking for.
Perhaps it's something that you and I could do. You mentioned that you've discussed it with County of Simcoe. I'd certainly be all ears in terms of participating in that. And then I'm a little reluctant to, especially at this point in Tiny right now, to ask our acting CAO to do a little bit more on that. But maybe in the next week or a couple weeks or so, we can sit down and talk to County of Simcoe as well, and maybe refine what we want to do.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
Sure, that's fine with me. That's
Okay.
what council wants to do.
Good. I think it's a great idea. No, let's keep it on the horizon for sure. Good. Okay. Any more comments, Council? We're good. Okay. Good. That concludes new business. We're going to move into a confidential closed session. So unfortunately, those of you in the crowd, I appreciate you coming out, and those of you online that have been listening, I appreciate you attending. And I hope you have a great evening. So, a mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor. Councilor Loca. And the motion is the Council and Committee of the Whole meets in closed session to deal with the following subject matters at 8:22 p.m. And those matters are personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, / confidential recreation report, REC-002-23 regarding the education bursary program selection. All those in favor?
-24.
Sorry, it says 2-3 on mine.
It's 24.
Oh, okay.
24.
I'll just amend that. Okay, thank you. Motion is carried.
That was the update from Township of Tiny. Keep watching for other news. Thank you.